Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of
Cool down.
I don't know how good that one was.
This should be called Transfer Deadline Cool Down Edition or something like that, or Cool Down Transfer
Down edition. You're getting your radio voice out, yeah.
Hey, man,
down
practicing,
edition,
man.
Boy.
Yeah, all of it, bro. Actually, when I was in varsity, people used to say that I sound like Mo Flavor. So I don't know. Maybe I could double up as Mo Flavor standard on Metro FM.
I don't know. Is that a good thing or a bad thing to be compared to someone else? I don't know. I don't like
it depends what the reason's for, right? If they're saying it's because of the voice, it's good. But if they say you must get out of the in front of the camera, it's a problem.
Can we get rid of the technicalities before the show starts here, Claudia?
There we go. I'm sorting them out now.
Hey, watch out. Don't mistaken me for a Man United fan, my man. I know the background is a little bit confusing today, but do not ever make that mistake, please, Chief.
Nah, but I think it's only fair to have that picture in your background, man. The Premier League's biggest player is back. So I think it's fitting that we have him on the show watching us.
Yeah, do you guys want to open up with that one, or do you want to just, because we've got two sections here today. To everyone who's watching, we're going to cover obviously the transfer deadline day, and we're going to discuss the past weekend's results. So I'm gonna throw this to you guys. Do you want to first discuss this transfer, Ronaldo, or do we want to talk about the results?
Will we finish if we start with Ronaldo? Will we finish?
Let's go. Let's get results first.
Results first.
All right, that's what we're doing. Results first. There we go.
Wanga's not here.
Yeah, he's not here, but it doesn't mean we can't talk. I wouldn't be here if I were him too. It's just too much of a beating, man. 20th on the log, 5-0 from City. We all predicted a hiding, but we didn't see 5-0, did we?
No.
Guys, I think all of us should just spend some time, 5 minutes every day, just checking up on Wanga, seeing how he's doing, where his head is, how his mental state is. He mustn't go out and give it all out to those kids that he's training at his soccer academy. So let's just be there for the lad, man. He needs all of our support at this in this testing times.
It's difficult for the guy because obviously, like you said, he's coaching kids. His mind's in football 24/7. He just doesn't get a break, and then he comes on. Yeah, so I think he was entitled to break today. I don't know what your opinion is there, Nick.
Oh, listen, I'm used to getting 5s and 6s all the time. Being a Newcastle fan, so it's just another day in the life of a fan like mine. So fan like myself. But yeah, listen. It's a sort of a sad state of affairs there at Arsenal. Man City, yes, a class side, but they just sort of rolled over. They didn't even show up on the day. I think, listen, I tell you what, I think they would have lost to anyone with that performance.
Most definitely.
Nice little background music. Is that what you think of Arsenal? Is that what you think of Arsenal?
Celebrate for them.
But listen, I think also it was probably the worst time you want to play Man City. I said it the other day, Man City losing that first game. I think they've got 2 back-to-back 5-0 wins. They are like a wounded animal when they do lose. So, they probably will go on a bit of a run now and get a couple of wins. But being an Arteta and an Arsenal going to City, it's probably the worst time to play them. You would like to think they would want to play one of the lower teams in the league, one of the weaker oppositions. But even then, if they play like that, it just looks like they've got a plan A and no real plan B or C. And unfortunately, Arteta is walking on a really, really tight rope at the moment.
You're mentioning a plan A. I couldn't even see that plan, right? I don't see the players being able to execute on plan A at this point in time. And for me, it seems like an Arsenal team which is lacking ideas, a lot of ideas to change momentum in football matches. And they're lacking the personnel to actually execute on those ideas. If your captain is a player like Xhaka, who has moments like that in very, very important games, I think it says a lot about the team. It says a lot about the leadership at the club. It says a lot about the players around Xhaka. It doesn't feel as if he's getting the pressure from any of the players around him or any of the coaching staff or the management, and it's a scary time for that football club. I think Nick, you probably experience teenage footballers who defend better than some of the defending we saw on the weekend.
Yeah.
No.
Listen,
I thought you experienced such hardship with Newcastle.
I am used to getting hide-ins like that, especially with Steve Bruce as my manager. But no, I agree with you. I think there's a lot of, you get taught the basics as a youngster. To defend your lines. Don't give the opposition space. Don't take risks in the box. And it just seems as though there's a lot of details that he's missing, all over the park, defensively. I was trying to figure out what their sort of pattern of play was. Is it, getting it out to the fullbacks and then we try and look for space in behind, or look for a number 10 or a striker at feet. It just really looked like they were going through the motions and probably trying to, create a situation where they were more on the side of damage control than they were trying to actually going to get something for the game. Listen, if they had sat in and defended the lead completely and parked the bus and had no possession, then I would say, yeah, credit to him. That's the sort of approach that he wanted to go, and a lot of teams will do that against City this year. But this is Arsenal Football Club, guys. They are a historic club. They're still a big club.
Third most successful in terms of league titles.
It's scary. It's scary to think that the Super League was supposed to start in the next couple of weeks, and they were supposed to be but in reality, and like Wanga has said in the past, they've spent money. They've spent the most out of everyone in the league, and they deliver in this. If I'm an Arsenal fan, I'd be a little bit of.
I think they've spent another £20 million today.
Right back. Yeah. So you can see
making
the
a total £160 million for Arsenal this window.
Guys, for me, when I build a team myself as a coach, and I think you guys can build your teams sort of in your head, for your teams that you support, I think the foundation needs to be there in the first place. First and foremost, you need a spine. And they've got no spine there. There's zero spine. You question marks over the goalkeeper always. Like, they bring in a second choice goalkeeper. Is the option to maybe bring him in as probably the first choice in years to come? I don't know. Centre halves, they sign in. I say it again. They sign in a player that finished in 17th last year. You can't tell me that guy's going to solidify your back four. You've got a lunatic in Xhaka, and he's a lunatic. Another guy.
This is the reason why Wanga isn't here today.
Yeah, and then you've got players there that you start to think, do they really even want to be there? You have a guy like.
Well, that's the thing I want to ask you, gentlemen.
Maitland-Niles now, guys. It's a prison there. They're holding him like this, guys. He wants to leave, guys. They're holding him back. Imagine you want to leave. Guys, imagine you want to leave and they put you in a straight jacket and they say, yeah, you can't leave. You can't go to Everton, bro. And
you must stick it out.
No, but now apparently, see, the tune has changed. He can't go to Everton because they see Everton as a rival now. That's the difference. Whereas before they were going to say, let's let them. That's where the narrative is changing. And it's, like you said, a sorry state of affairs. But what I want to ask you, gentlemen, is that you speak about, their state of affairs and everything. And also, obviously, Maitland-Niles is a good example. But how much of a factor has this transfer window been for Arteta managing his squad and knowing that players are unsettled, players want to leave? Obviously, you got players, Bellerin, arguably one of the leaders in the squad. It was out for a while that the player wanted to leave. I see he's made his loan move to, I think it's Real Sociedad.
No, Betis.
Real Betis. There we go. So he's made, all these players, you got Lacazette question marks. You got Aubameyang question marks. So how much of that has actually affected the start of the season, as well as will we see a better Arsenal? They better be a better Arsenal. Otherwise, they can't sink lower, can they? But will we see something different after the transfer window? And I might as well ask you the question there, Selo.
we have to see something different, guys. It's unacceptable. We can banter Arsenal all we want, guys, but truly and honestly, guys, Arsenal is a top 6 team historically, and historically even a top 2 team. You know, a top 1. You know, they've won countless titles, record amount of FA Cups, and always been in the Champions League. But it's a sorry state of affairs. You know, and I think they need to get their house in order. If the manager's not the right guy, then at some point in time you need to pull the plug and get a manager who can galvanize this group of players, because they do have talented players. You know, you got your Martin Odegaards, your Smith Rowes, your Sakas. You know what I mean? They just need to mold it, and I think they have made some interesting signings that I think will be good for them in the long term. That Lukonga guy looks a bit good in the midfield. Odegaard is good. But yeah, as we said, we were asking questions about, and that Tavares guy at left back is also good. We were asking questions about the Ben White signing and the Aaron Ramsdale signing. Those two are question marks, because you know he's signing a second choice for 25 million goalkeeper, 15 million for a first choice, where Jules Koundé is probably okay. Obviously, Chelsea are still trying to negotiate, but you could have gotten a centre back, Jules Koundé's mold, for about 65 million pounds. You know, add another 15 or 60 million pounds. But let's see what happens to Arsenal. But we need them to be in the top 10 at least, guys.
Listen,
It's just scary, man.
If it's at the expense of us being in the top 10, they can stay where they are. I don't know. but
they must go
if I'm
fight,
honest
boy.
with you, you know, like I often, you know, I'm very vocal about my manager because I can sort of see what's been happening, and also I just don't really like his track record, if I want to put it plainly and honestly. But I don't like, you know, questioning a manager, especially a young manager. You know, Arteta, he's done well at City. You know, he helped Pep and those teams do so well. But then, you know, when these things start to happen and you start to win to lose in the fashion that you lose in, I start to question whether or not he is the right man, in the sense of actually, as you said, galvanizing the group and getting them to play for him specifically. So if you look at the characters of coaches that are at the top end of the league, you look at a Jurgen Klopp, you look at Tuchel, Solskjaer, probably debatable, and he probably went through what Arteta's going through now at some point. You know, I'm telling you right now, and I'll be very honest, if Mourinho had to go into that change room, Arsenal wouldn't be where they are, because he would demand a lot more. And I think he's more on the side of trying to implement a philosophy with players that aren't probably capable of executing that philosophy right now. So he needs
But it's interesting, Nick, it's interesting you say that, because when he came in, what we liked about them last season was that they were set up in a certain way, that the players were listening, they were structured, they weren't going gung-ho, they were organized at the back. And it's come out this season, they just don't know what they're doing. They're in between. And maybe that's what I'm getting to, where the players, they're not sure. Half of them have their foot in the door, half of them have it out the door. So do they really want to be fighting for the team, for the manager? That none of that's there. And maybe I feel like it is quite harsh to criticize the manager, because everyone says we can't see an identity, and that's, you know, it's overt. It's there. We can't see it. But again, there's just so much shit around the club that it's not just down to this guy. And I think he's got the shit end of the stick. And we always said this job was going to be a shit end of any stick for any person coming in willing to take it. I don't know. Mosa, do you want to round off in terms of your overall thoughts on this game before we move on to the next fixture?
Overall thoughts on the game? Arsenal have a lot to work on going forward. My only difficulty is I don't see how they're going to work on it with the current management they have, and the players that we're mentioning are in their cabinet, right? It's a team that looks promising for the future, but their future may be in the Championship if things continue in this manner, and that's my concern for Arsenal, because everybody would say, okay, they spend so much time, so much money, they have these type of players which they spend with that money. It's very difficult for me to see them making a wholesale change to actually galvanize a performance. I mean, last season they did a lot better when they had kids like Smith Rowe, Saka coming into the fray, and they kind of saved the team from the dismay that we've seen so far this season. And if something doesn't change, I think it's going to continue in that trend. There's nobody to save the kids who were saving them last season.
Yeah,
trust the process, as Mesut Ozil said on Twitter after they lost 5-0. Trust the process with a broken heart.
Listen, I think we also need to give credit to Man City, ruthless.
100%,
You know, scary. What they can do going forward. Listen, they did play against a weakened Arsenal team. I think, Musa, you had spoken about Arsenal in the previous week, but obviously they're probably at the lowest of the lows right now. But Man City really, rolling up their sleeves and proving why they are definitely title contenders this season.
Let's
100%.
I guess quickly just to answer what Pums is asking there. I think Man City is definitely going to go in with one striker. But interesting enough, that striker is playing on the right hand side in Gabriel Jesus, and Ferran Torres is playing through the middle. So it'll be quite interesting how they utilize Ferran Torres and Jesus, because it seems like they will be the ones who often lead the line. And I think the youngsters, there's no youngster who I can say can be a player to be knocking on the doors, but obviously they'll play like the Carabao Cup. But Jesus and Ferran Torres are looking good for them. They've got a couple of goals, and let's see what the season has for them.
But I think also what's nice for City is their front three generally are interchangeable. So, I mean, he doesn't need to play with a recognised number 9. He could play with 3 attacking players, if you want to call them that. And they can have sort of a free role playing along that line of the back 4. So I don't think they'll have a problem, but I wouldn't be surprised if they're in a position where, maybe it's only 2 or 3 points between them and another team, and they maybe, lose 1 or 2 games in the Champions League or drop points. Maybe in January you might see them go and splash the cash on someone who is recognised. But I think right now, if I'm Pep, they've proved that they can score goals. They scored 10 goals in 2 games. So you can't really complain.
No, you can't. But Nick, you're doing a lot of the talking, and you might as well keep talking, because the next game we want to talk about is your team's game. So let's hear that, man. The Newcastle 2, Southampton 2.
Last minute.
Tell us how your heart broke.
Man. You guys were winning. You're winning, bro. You had it in your hands.
Just give it away, boy.
To be fair, we didn't deserve to win the game. I think it's typical Bruce. We sat in at home, defended, had 30% possession.
Was the stadium fully packed? You had your 12th man there, so to speak.
No, so we had a full stadium last week, or the first game of the season. That was against West Ham. When we lost against Burnley last week, there was serious boos and really an unhappy set of fans leaving that stadium, because they played against a Burnley side that had named 2 goalkeepers on the bench because they didn't have enough players to fill their squad. And we ended up going to penalties, lost the game. And I think it's just typical Newcastle, you play against a Burnley who, we've probably tipped to get relegated, but then we end up just drawing the game and going to penalties and losing it. So we had a significant drop, I think 5,500 fans less than we did in our first game. And, it's for us, it's not.
Yeah, that is a lot.
For us, it's just not. I can't comprehend when you have Miguel Almiron, Joe Willock, Saint-Maximin, and Wilson on the field, and we're sitting in. I don't understand it. Listen, we did break on the counter very well, and that's how we scored our sort of both of our goals, if you want to call it that. But we're not the strongest defensively, so I don't understand why he's trying to soak up so much pressure. But yeah, it was a roller coaster of emotions. The difference was the 2 players that I've spoken about, Maxi and Wilson. And yeah, right at the end we throw it away because, I listen, 2 years ago I said Jamal Lascelles should be going to the World Cup because he was in form, he was great, he was strong, and he's just gone backwards under Bruce. He was a proper leader under Rafa Benitez, and he's slow. He doesn't make the right decisions. He dives in. He doesn't have to dive in there. The goalkeeper's right on the back of the striker. The keeper actually saves it. He saves it, so he doesn't even have to dive in. But yeah, you can sort of. You rewind a few sort of steps and ask why is he getting beyond him in the first place. So yeah, I thought we were going to get our first win, but yeah, 1 point is
almost big. Man, so close.
It's 1 point more than Arsenal.
But it's a joke, bro. Like for me, Southampton are so much weaker than they were last year from the players that they've lost, and we defended against them. You know, it just shows you, and I think we'll talk about transfers later. But our team is inferior. We've signed Joe Willock, but Joe Willock was with us for the end of last season for the second half of the season. We've let go of 6 players and signed a player that was already with us last season. And from what I understand, we've closed up shop this. That Mexican guy, don't get excited. He's going straight to the academy. So we inferior to what we were last season, and we finished.
You can't be signing a 19-year-old. Obviously, it seems like he's got potential. You know, you need to be You need to be having him as your second or third striker, whatever it is.
From what I understand, there's a few players that we're looking at, and we can't afford the loan fee. That's we spent all our money on Willock, Premier League club. Ashley's not putting any more money into the club.
He's just taking all that money out.
Paul Jones for a loan fee of nothing. Just pay half his wages.
Let's give Steve Bruce a call after this. We'll get him in time for the deadline. Do any of you want to comment on my team? Because I think you guys are like just listening.
I'll just say, obviously I didn't watch the whole game, but obviously I watched bits and pieces. And I think it's great to see Wilson scoring the goals. I think obviously it's his second goal of the season. St. Maximan also terrorizing there up front. He's a player that I have in my fantasy team because I know what he can do. He can create a moment of magic either by scoring or by creating. He just needs to stay fit. I think that you guys have definitely got a player that could easily go for £40 million next season if he stays fit this whole season and has a full season. Could get about 15 goals and assists in total, probably. But Wilson and St. Maximan and Almiron, if you keep those 3 fit, should be okay. Even Goalloungtv contributed towards the second goal.
But if you look at now, you speak about Wilson. From what I hear, the reports are that he's out for 4 weeks. We don't have a striker. We don't have a backup striker.
He's always injured. Damn.
What do you think about Solomon Rondon getting called back up there to Everton?
Absolutely breaks my heart. That guy is absolutely.
He's going to Everton, boy.
It absolutely breaks my heart. He is an animal, that guy, bro. He is an animal. And the way we let him go, we didn't want to pay or give him a new contract. The club's a joke. But yeah, we're still here supporting them. And
like Pum says, Steve Low Block Bruce. I mean, he's just forgetting the pies in there. Steve Low Block Pie Bruce or Bruce Pies.
I'm sure he's very excited to set that low block up against Ronaldo in the first game back.
Welcome back, Ronaldo, to the Premier League. Look at
Bruce,
that.
How exciting.
Delicious first game for Ronaldo. Okay, gents, we're going to move on to the Liverpool versus Chelsea, the 1-1. Musa, you might as well open up here because you have to be happy with this as well.
Can I ask about the red card first, please? Can I just ask
which one?
It's unfortunate. The James red card.
It is a red card.
It's unfortunate in my view. Look,
not a turning off.
It is a red card, unfortunately.
It's a penalty, but not a red card, guys.
It is a red card, unfortunately. It's stopping the opportunity for a team to score a goal. Like I remember once a couple of years ago when Suarez was at the World Cup and Ghana was almost about to qualify to the quarterfinals. And
I think we
Suarez,
all remember that, bro.
Yeah, and Suarez put his hand out to make a save like a goalkeeper, and we felt hard done by it, the fact that the penalty was given.
This instance, it hit his thigh first and then hit the hand. So I'm saying, yes, the ball was going to go into the net without his arm being there. So
it's definitely a red card. It's a goal, and it's a goal. Goal-scoring opportunity, even though it was harsh. The rules state that he has to be.
They apply the letter of the law.
Guys, there's rules, but there's also things that make sense in football, guys. It's not like he did this. It's not like he was a goalkeeper like this, guys.
Yeah.
His hand was by his side, right? Yes, it did a natural motion to like twitch type of thing where your hand, where your ball hits, and then And then
That's what
Be a
killed him.
goalkeeper.
That Twitch killed him.
Yeah,
That
that's
Twitch
what
killed
went
him.
forward.
It was the Twitch.
but guys,
Being a goalkeeper there.
yes, the Twitch killed him. But the ball hit his thigh first. That's what killed him as well. Is that the ball hit his thigh
Yeah.
first. So that's the mitigating thing. I think it should be the fact that the ball
Look,
hit the thigh.
whenever these decisions are given, I always look at it from a defender's perspective because obviously that's the position that I was forced to play. Not by choice, clearly, but it was the position that I was forced to play. And when I always look at it, I mean, if it is coming off his leg, he's doing his best to stop it. And I do think the sending off is somewhat harsh. I understand it's part of the rules, as you say, Nick. But some of those rules, and I know it's the twitch of the arm that obvious, like in the end, that gets him sent off. But it is him trying to stop the ball, and it's just consequential. So I do think the red card should be given. And actually, I mean, the penalty should be given and the red card shouldn't be given. But what I don't like is as soon as the red card happens in a big game like this, we know what's going to happen. It's going to be one-sided. You know, we talk about when Burnley come to Liverpool and they sit deep. That's exactly what Chelsea did. The difference being Chelsea had better quality players. So it was a
Much better quality players.
Much better quality. So to break down a team that's going to defend for 90 minutes, yes, a lot of credit needs to be given to that side, but it's still going to be very, very difficult. And it kills the contest.
It maybe from your perspective it killed the context, but I think like if it had continued, it would have been a scarier contest for a Liverpool team that didn't create that many chances before that red card. It was you guys on the back foot for most of the first half, and had that not happened and we had continued to get our 11 players on the field, we were going to create a lot more opportunities. Even after losing James, we still managed to sit deep and soak up a lot of pressure and create more promising opportunities than what I think Liverpool did do in the second half, which is why I think the contest would have been more exciting from a Chelsea perspective if we hadn't lost a player and that incident didn't happen. It did happen. It was a red. I was super impressed by how professional these players are and how they take to their craft and their job, because I saw Lukaku literally sitting at the edge of the box, in between the box and the halfway line. I saw people holding positions knowing that they could go for runs, and it was very impressive and very professional. I think it shows the character in the squad, and it shows the qualities we have to work on this season.
Yeah, I mean, look, they were good. They were the better team up until that moment in time.
So do you think, Claudio, the fact that you guys obviously haven't made any signings, do you think that there could have been a player that could have added something, a spark? You know what I mean? I think in terms of the creativity, because, you know, obviously you guys have struggled with creativity in the last 12 months, you know, and this game similarly.
Yeah, I think he gets it wrong from his starting 11, firstly speaking. Like just to kick that off, because I don't think Firmino should start. I think Firmino now, when he's coming off the bench, is giving us something different. We are quite a direct side. It's just how it is. Now, all of a sudden, you're starting with Firmino. You've lost that extra edge in the final third where Jota doesn't have to be playing well, but he's going to get a goal, and he's got goals in him. So he's done that, and that I think that backfired completely. He starts Robertson. I know I said he should come in, but at the end of the day, you could see he wasn't fit. He gets taken off towards the end of the game anyway. So it was these sort of, you know, in the big games, there's always fine margins. That always gets said. And I think it was those decisions that obviously was the difference. And like I said, between Klopp and Tuchel's adaptable. He's a different type of manager where he plays for the result. No different to Mourinho, except for the fact that Tuchel isn't afraid of going forward. That's the difference. So, and I say Klopp's got that way of playing. He's got his belief and he believes in it. And his plan B isn't really there, except for the fact, one thing I've got to commend him is that at halftime he pulls off Firmino because it isn't working. And I think that changes the game a little bit. So, yeah, Mossa, you say had the red card not happened, Chelsea would have been more expansive and come at Liverpool. But for me, that would have probably been a benefit, because as the game draws on and a crowd at Anfield, that space then opens behind, and where our Liverpool strength is the direct runs in behind, you know, and that would have been better for Liverpool. But at the end of the day, big questions again asked. So Celo, right question saying, do we need someone in the final third? Because we don't have, we go wide and then they panic and they want to go wide and just whip it in the box, but we have no movement in the box. There's nothing. So, and then it's exactly what we saw a lot of the time last season. So, you know, it is a bit of a, I wouldn't say it's a panic station, but it is a bit of a familiar pattern that we've seen before that does then all of a sudden go, Chelsea looks more of a title challenger. what Liverpool does at this stage. And if we're looking at all the signings, Ronaldo coming in, we're looking at the Lukaku's come in, Man City spending 100 million on
Saul's
Saul's probably going to come into
signing
Chelsea. Yeah. So when you're looking at that, at the end of the day, you like Liverpool's focus, unfortunately, has been contract renewals, and that's where they're spending their money. That's been the difference. And we've just got to, hope for the best and see what happens with the team and see that maybe the injured players that weren't available make the difference this season. That's all. I don't know.
You talk about you guys going wide in the likes, and I always look at Liverpool, or recently I've started looking at Liverpool in a sense where the problem is sometimes those players that are going wide aren't the midfielders. It's the fullbacks.
It's not. 100%.
It's a hard job for them to actually do, like week in, week out. It's quite, if you are prepared and do have a cover on your wide position, it's actually a little bit easier to manage those two wing backs. They're not going to be able to run 90 minutes bombing up the line the whole day. Liverpool either have to be in full possession of the game or they have to figure out another approach. And that's what I think is beginning to show now for Klopp in terms of his staff personnel. It seems like too much width is coming from the back, and it should be complemented by players either in the middle third or in the final third that also do that.
And you know what that stems from? That stems from them winning the league because of the fullbacks. So there's a lot of over-reliance and expectation that the fullbacks will keep delivering. That's the difference. Yeah. Whereas if you're looking at Man City, you've got these clever little players in the midfield that can make the movements out wide, but they can drift inside because they're technically gifted and they also know how to read their game that way. When we've got a player like Trent who's expected to do that, Trent's not going to take the ball, cut inside, make a little 1-2 in the box because that's not his position. He's forced out wide. So as soon as he gets the ball, he looks up. What does he want to do? David Beckham-esque sort of cross every single time. And as a defender, and you're sitting deep, even Steve Bruce will tell his players, that's easier to defend. No, but on a serious note, that's easier to take. It's easier to take care of. If you got 5 players, and Chelsea, how did they set up? 3 at the back, 2 full backs, 5. You got 5 at any given moment. Plus, then everyone can. No. Anyway, same frustrations from my side. Chelsea looking good. I will say this. Yeah.
Repping over here, the best, boy, the best in the world, not even the Premier League, the world.
Listen to what Wonga's saying there. Yeah, no problems in Liverpool. Come support Arsenal. That's where the
problems are. Wonga didn't want to take the abuse. Yeah.
Yeah, one thing I'd like to mention is the fact that that yellow card that red card happened. It enabled us to make a change where we pulled Kante off. And I was super happy to see that happening because Kante was having a really satisfactory first half, and I don't think he was contributing very well to the momentum that we could have seen happening at Chelsea. I think similar to Firmino coming on for you guys, for me it was potentially us bringing Kante in and not the most ideal setting because he was losing a lot of possession. He was caught in areas of the field where he shouldn't have been, and it was actually a blessing in disguise that we lost that man, and he could critically then focus on Kante and get him out of the game.
Well, so I want to ask you, Elliot starting. Obviously, Thiago not fully fit yet, but he gets, that's the confidence in a big game against Chelsea. Elliot starting ahead of Thiago at Anfield. What did you think of his performance as an outsider, as an opponent looking at the player?
Well, I look at the gesture from the manager first, right? The manager must know something that's happening at training that we don't know in terms of what this boy is capable of, right? If he loves his technique, if he loves his movement and his energy, there's something there. I watched him when he did come on for the first 2 games. First as a sub and then starting. He was impressive both times. He actually didn't disappoint in any way. He did create a lot of movement around him. Did find those pockets that you're speaking of where Firmino used to be, right? Firmino used to lie in between the pockets, between the defenders and the midfielders. And he was finding himself there a lot of the time. He's confident on the ball. He gives you comfort enough to feel as if he's got pedigree in the English Premier League. He's been playing, rubbing shoulders with all the peers that he's currently playing with. So I think he's an excellent player in terms of what he's produced so far. To make the decision to go for Firmino and him is a little bit questionable in my view, but I can't fault him for giving a kid of this nature faith. It shows which school of thought Klopp comes from as well. He's not. It's not new that he does this with the kids, that he actually gives confidence to actually perform at the highest level, and it's quite exciting. He's a great player in my view.
Yeah, and it is something where Klopp tends to reap the benefits later down the line when players like this do get put in these sort of games. And also, if you have the talent, flip, what a game to get thrown into. It's not like South Africa. No, he's young. Keep him until he's 25, and then we throw him into the big game. De Villiers saying, Elliot does have great vision. Shout out to him. He stays a couple of apartments down from my apartment. Shout out there. So, Selo and Nick, before we move on from the game, Chelsea here, and I think this is quite an obvious question, has an obvious answer to it. But Chelsea, definite title contenders?
Yeah,
Of course, yes.
No doubt.
Of course, yes. Number one.
They have so much depth, and I think what's quite key for them is, I think he's planned for both the European campaign as well as the English Premier League. You know, Chelsea tend to go and win European competitions when they've had an average season, so I think he would want to try and change that and challenge for
Average
the Champions
by our
League.
standards, Nick.
Nah, but let's be honest. When you've won European titles, you guys have been dead average.
Yeah.
You had a good finish to the season last year. The last time you won the Champions League, you guys finished 6th or 7th.
5th or
You won
6th,
the
yeah, 5th or
Europa
6th,
League.
yeah.
Nah, Newcastle finished ahead of them. I remember that. 2013. You actually robbed Spurs of their spot. They finished 4th, and then you guys ended up taking it away. And then also you guys won, I think, the Europa League with Benitez. But I think there's some sort of stability now. I think there's a good energy from Chelsea, and yeah, just that it's like a steamroller at the moment. I mean, to hold the Liverpool out at home. Or at their home with 10 men, that's a story in its own.
It was definitely 2 points lost for us and a point gained from Chelsea, especially how they behaved afterwards. You could see it meant a lot to them. What's up, Sam? Thank you for joining us yet again. Selo, Wolves, Man United go away from home. They get their 3 points. Speak to us.
Man United and Mike Dean.
Can we just talk about the team save first and foremost?
Can we talk about how yours was in the red?
First and foremost, can we talk
Since we spoke about our red,
can we talk about the hair save?
Can we speak about Mike Dean?
I spoke before anyone else spoke, so you lost the chance.
I spoke before anyone else. You like that?
That's exactly what happened on the weekend. You scored before anybody could have blown the whistle. So
that kid at break who has a ball, and you're like, no, it's my ball, it's my game, I'm the boss.
Exactly. But yeah, I'll start about David De Gea's save. Crazy save. I think obviously that gave us the momentum to at least try and get a victory. But yeah, I think obviously that challenge is one of those, man. If you're the team that makes the challenge. You look the other way and you think to yourself that it's a 50-50 challenge. But if you are a Wolves supporter or the other team, you think to yourself, hey, man, Rafe, why didn't you see that? The shin pad moved slightly. I think
he literally didn't see it.
Yeah, no, listen. I think
he didn't go and see it.
I think also the problem is that sometimes as well is that what happens after challenges is also something that plays into the ref's mind as well. You know what I mean? I'm not saying he's gonna. He. It's not like he went to his mouth and then took it away. He looked at the situation. He felt there was minimal contact. Right from probably his angle, he doesn't see much contact. And then Neves looks at him and then says, and then falls down. You know what I mean? He's like, "What's this guy trying to tell me? He's trying to tell me to ref the game." And then he lets obviously the game to play, and we score from that situation. And yeah, VAR. I think they probably were backing the ref and saying that the ref was right there and saw what was going on and so on. But I think it's one of those literally. If you're the team that it goes for, you're happy, and then if you're the team that it goes against, you're really mad.
Listen, Selo, I was only pulling your leg. I fully agree with you. If you look at Neves, he looks at the ref, he looks at the ball, and he realizes he hasn't passed the ball to one of his players. So he says, "Yeah, let me just go down now." If he had passed the ball to one of his players, he was going to carry on running down.
Would have ran, yeah.
So for me, I think that decision is fine because you know, there's been many times in football, you guys have all played football, where you maybe make a challenge and you fly in, but you miss the ball completely and you miss the man completely, but you touch the guy. You will touch a guy, and then the guy gets past you, he runs past you. You're not going to bring that back for a foul because there's an advantage there. I understand, but
there's two things to it, man. It's
but
I don't know.
Hold on. Musa, you can continue. I just want to say, is Bonga coming in here saying second greatest heist after Ramsdale to Arsenal for £25 million, and then he follows up by saying, "So the ref is part of your team." There, so again, as you were,
potentially.
No, man, he's looking at the contact if there is, you know.
But
who's that ref? The ref that used to always give Man United decisions, the big policeman. What was his name?
Oh, jeez.
Remember him? Howard Webb. The Mike Dean's a new Howard Webb there.
No, man, guys, you know what I hate about Mike Dean? He always wants to be the center of attraction, guys. And he just
Dishes
he
on
wants
God.
a statue outside Man United Stadium there next to Sir Alex.
My only problem is we've seen a lot of goals this season being ruled out by VAR because I thought it was a rule that, you know, after a goal is scored, there has to be a check that takes place on VAR, on VAR. And in this instance, it was literally a moment which led to a goal, and that check didn't take place, or it never even went through. They did check, but
the box.
The contact was there, but they never felt it necessary for the referee to go check. So there was a rule being broken, but they never felt it necessary for anybody to take a call on it, which it was quite surprising from my view. I understand when a player, when a referee has to award a play on decision. So the referee can make accounts for like that similar scenario. If the Pogba had touched the player and the ball had gone to one of his teammates, then the referee could say play on. He does make the field aware about a foul, but he does see that it's not going to harm anything in their favor. But to say that, look, there was contact, it could have been a foul. This foul actually led onto a goal being scored like 2 passes later. It feels like there are so many things that went wrong, or somebody has paid really good money.
But Musa, if you look at how close Mike Dean is to the action, guys, you know, you can hear contact. Guys, we've all played football. You can hear contact. That's why I honestly think that was you know, they'll go microscopically very close to the frame by frame to the incident, but that happened within a split second. I think that is just literally the boot brushing his leg, and he takes 2 steps. The man takes 2 steps. But I would personally think, in my mind, he's missed the player. He's just touched him. He's missed the player. He's gone past him.
If I was a player, I'd be more pissed off at the risk of me actually suffering a serious injury. Yes, it might have been a brush at my shin pads, but it's literally at my shin pads where I need to have these kind of devices. And then right after that, I feel that contact. I go down. I see 2 passes happening, and it's a goal against my team. I'd feel really hard done by the referee. And if the ref had made the other decision to say, look, there was contact, you know, and it is a foul because of that contact. It was happening at the shin guards. Now, I don't think it would be a bad decision from the referee as well.
But Musa, flip it now. What if he stays on his feet, he goes into the box, and he helps him defend?
But he didn't
concede the goal. Yeah, but
he decided to go down.
I question his character. I question his character, and mainly because he's Portuguese. Oh, sorry.
I was ready for that.
He didn't go down. He didn't go down because of the contact. He went down because he lost the ball.
Yeah, but that kind of led to it, right? If you see studs coming up, sometimes people, they don't go into a header with their full force and lose the ball because they see studs coming to their face. We look at those kind of scenarios as, whoa, there's studs actually being up. Now we're looking at this to say they never got enough contact on him.
Pum's comment there is perfect. You know what I mean? There was no clear and obvious area. It's not clear and obvious. Because we are debating it, it's not clear and obvious.
All right. Well, let's move away from it not being clear and obvious. I want to ask you.
What
Someone's
do you
saying,
think,
I think
Claudio? Tell us.
I think it's time. I don't. The Portuguese
He's
guy.
defending the
You like, you like, but I told you, I thought you like hard stuff, hard fouls and everything, man. What's happening?
Yeah, no, I do. I like giving them, and then when I see one of my players are down, Flace. I used to play soccer with Flace, and I know Flace. It's nice to get the fouls on your side too. So it works both ways. But I do.
What's happened with Wonga? He wrote the same thing 4 times.
He's
trying to
driving
make
a point
the point.
home. He's making the point. He's not on the show, but the point is being heard louder than he's ever made a point ever before.
Needs to just say it one more time, and then it's the same scoreline that he got this weekend. Come on,
Once more, boy.
One more.
Oh man.
All right, but Tilo, I want to ask you. So the clear and obvious thing. Okay, forget about penalties. But Fred, how was his performance? Are you happy going into this transfer window without having this?
It's clear and obvious as well. Yeah.
Yo, bro, that guy is so
Clear
bad,
and
bro.
obviously
Guys,
bad.
Very
that guy's
clear and
bad.
obvious. Yo.
No, bro.
Yo,
You know when you realize that Fred is so bad when Pogba is playing in the midfield with him, and Pogba is telling him where to go and telling him where, like, because Pogba was literally telling him go a bit closer to the centre backs in between and go fetch the ball, basically. So he's trying to tell him that no, if I fetch the ball, I'm too deep from the goals, obviously, because you want Pogba to be closer. You want Pogba to be closer to the offense's goal than his own goals. So he tells Fred, "Hey man, go fetch the ball. Like go there."
No,
and
he's got fear.
Fred doesn't go there. You know what I mean? And like, listen, like that is one thing that we've been crying out for is a defensive mid who can play alone. I think Fred definitely isn't the guy, and he looks lost without someone. There's the fifth one, 5 minutes.
There's number 5. It's the first point Arsenal make this whole season.
5-5.
Well, Bonga, you're doing your team proud, yeah, man. Better than they do on the field.
But Fred, that first 15-20 minutes of Fred was poor, man. Traore goes right between him. Then there's a ball where we wait for a corner. It goes to him. He has a bad first touch. It goes to Trincao. Trincao runs straight at him. He lets Trincao still go into the box. He could have tried and fouled him outside the box and maybe cause a free kick and have a yellow. But he still allows him to go past him into the box. Then he can't tackle him. And then
how can he foul him if he's weak?
Then Trincao shoots, and when he shoots, luckily Wan-Bissaka is there with these long legs and stops it from going in. So Fred, and again, Solskjaer didn't take him out. It means Solskjaer does not see, guys. Solskjaer shows you guys that he's not the man. Like, he tries to prove to the fans and to the hierarchy that I am not the man to take you guys forward because I cannot make tough decisions and I start players who play poorly. And then last week he played McTominay, but McTominay had an injury. He had surgery during the week. Yesterday he plays Dan James. He gets sold today. Like, bro, what's happening in your mind? Like,
okay,
can you
all right, Tilo, but
think?
let's not unpack him too much.
See that frustration?
We're gonna be touching on this. We're gonna be touching on this.
It's
gonna boil, boy. It's gonna boil.
No, you must. I need to take it all out. International break. You take it all out.
No, you need to get it out. But what I'm saying is, I feel like this is gonna spill over into the next section. But I do quick one, and I want you guys to make one. It's a quick one. You're not gonna dive into it. Wonga's asking, who would you take, Shaka or Fred? And you're just gonna say the name. Mosa?
Fuck. None of the above. Fuck them both. I'll go without a centre defensive midfielder.
I'll go for Shaka.
Yo, Shaka's gonna cost you so many times as well, though.
I'll go for Shaka, bro.
How many red cards has Shaka collected?
No, guys. At least Shaka has the first touch, guys.
For what? Dude, he passes back 95% of the time.
We don't care.
Can I just say, when you sign Fred, am I right? When you sign Fred.
Yes,
and then he did try signing Shaka for Roma now. So I don't know what you were seeing in these two players here. But Nick, Shaka or Fred, quick one.
So when you combine them, the word that sort of comes to mind is fucker. Like, I agree. I probably wouldn't have any of them. But
Those fuckers.
listen, but I think possibly Fred, but that's like tough. That's a tough one to say. Very, very tough.
I'll take Shaka because we say at least he's got a first touch. But listen, one thing
Hey,
that Fred
but
does,
the man can't stay on the field.
I know
The
he can't stay on the
fans
field.
boo him and then he
I know,
swears
man.
at them. And,
Telling fans to fuck
at
off.
least-
Yeah, but hey, I think Claudio, you must. No, don't worry. No, continue.
No. What did you want to say? Go ahead.
No. Who would you take?
Who would I take? No, jeez,
Yeah.
tough. No, I'm sharing the same. I'm sharing the same sentiment as Russell there. I can't have either, man. I'll go fetch a kid in the under 16s rather or something. We'll go fetch one
literally.
next boy.
A kid that you can tell him to do one job. Just focus on the one job. But
Boom says he'll take Shaka. That's what he says.
guys are brave. Yo.
All right,
But you
gents.
Silo,
Yeah,
that whole thing that's happening underneath it, where you have to vent to us, and I can see the boiling in your blood. I think it's going to be worse now that you've got the best talent in the world coming to your team. There's going to be more unforgiveness at your manager. Right now, you guys have been very forgiving of the manager saying whatever stories that you guys have.
How can we be
No, you guys
How can
always
we-
see
how can we-
this.
But we're not forgiving of the guy, man. We've been harsh. We've been harsh on him and saying that he's
Celo's
not the
been
right man
harsh.
to take us
Celo
forward,
hasn't.
bruh. Like at the end of the
Yeah.
day, it's his tactics have been poor. Like we all know his tactics are poor. He doesn't bring on subs. He doesn't, like last week. Donny doesn't come on when Fred and Message weren't playing well. Like it's what I always say. It's vibes united, man. We just
It's just for the vibes.
We have world class.
just for the vibes.
We have world
Hey,
class
come-
players. We have world
Come
class
sign
players.
for Man United. We have vibes.
And
Vibes.
exactly.
Cristiano was like, what? There's
Yeah,
vibes
so-
there.
So what-
But he's gonna come coach, boy. You know, Ronaldo.
Yeah.
Okay, we might as well go there. It's time.
It would be
Transfer
fair.
deadline day. It's today, and we can argue. We can go blue in the face between already in the face. Whichever team you support, who's been more successful in the transfer window. But the first one we might as well cover is this one: the Ronaldo to Man United.
The most exciting one I've seen in a long time. Wow, to wake up or to consider him potentially going to Man City on Thursday, and then finding that Manchester United would not have any of that. To have one of their former legends back in the field, and wearing the red is it's like for me it's brilliant, right? It's stuff fairy tales are made of. I can only imagine what it's like for you as a Manchester United fan, Silo, because from where I'm standing, this is a guy who I've seen create so many memories at that club and then go on to create them more throughout his entire career. He's literally seen as the greatest of all time in many people's views, and that's because of his time there and at different clubs. So, yeah, man, I am super impressed with this deal. His wages are pricey, but they should be for his caliber. And I think he's cheap, man. They got him for 2 seasons. Yes, it wasn't a free like Thiago Silva and the likes at my club, but the caliber of this man is going to galvanize everybody at that club. And I think the person who's going to suffer the most at that club is an Ole, to be honest. This is going to put
I
him
agree.
more in the spotlight in terms of
No,
what
man,
he can do with players like this.
I was talking to a mate of mine on WhatsApp when obviously the deal was happening, and other guys as well. Is that the fact that this signing, it won't help Ole. I think yes, people are all thinking about the fact that the goals will come and so on. Yes, he'll score goals, cool, no problem. But then there's also the aspect of Solskjaer is very scared to make certain decisions. Bruno Fernandes never comes off. Unless we're winning 5-0. But when we are struggling and Bruno's not having a good game, he never comes off. You know what I mean? So now you're gonna have Cristiano Ronaldo not having a good game. He's not gonna come off. Do you understand what I'm saying? You're not even gonna try Cavani or try play Greenwood through the middle or try play Rashford or whoever might be the person to come on. He's gonna be scared to make the substitution because he never takes Bruno off when Bruno's not playing well. So that is another headache that Solskjaer as inexperienced and with a coach with poor tactics doesn't really help him. But let's hope that in some way or form, I think that the players themselves can try and find a way to play together and then find the tactics amongst themselves. There are sometimes where you can see the teams that the players are the ones who are bringing up the tactics.
I think that's going to happen. Yeah, I think Pums is saying, he's going there to get his coaching badges. 100%. Ronaldo's not going to take shits, and if he sees the manager's not bold enough to make decisions, he will be making the decisions. But one thing I do want to say, and I raised this in the Euros, was there was a reason Bruno and Ronaldo didn't play together. Was because, you're carrying two players when you're doing it. So it's going to be very, very interesting. Now you've got your McFred combo. We can see on the weekend they've dropped Pogba. No, I'm asking the question going, it's going to be very interesting to see how they're going to fit both these players in there. And, they're both fantastic players. And Ronaldo, no doubt. But will it be at the expense of a Bruno eventually? Like you're talking about pulling a player off.
I think the thing as well is that you need to remember that not all players had great Euros. I think Bruno was fatigued at the end of the season, and he just had no energy because even the Premier League performances they had dropped.
But I'm not criticizing his performance. I'm saying when I'm looking at how both the players are playing and how they play, they're not exactly. Both Ronaldo now he's gonna work as hard as he can, but he's in and out the box. He's not going to be pressing. Yeah, and Bruno doesn't do that either. So what I'm saying is there's going to be a lot more pressure on that midfield, and that's one. So if you did get your DM that you needed, that probably would have been perfect. But now I'm just wondering. I'm asking, do you think they'll be able to cope?
But the thing is, Bruno does track back. I don't understand what you're saying. For Man United, he does track back. I don't know what games you watch.
Okay, all right.
I've seen him run. I've seen Bruno run back and chase back players that go back into Man United's half and even to the box. I've seen him track back.
Does he press?
Maybe he does press.
Though.
Bruno does press. You know what I mean?
High
Bruno
up the
does
field.
press. He does press. Bruno presses the guys who press the best press obviously at Man United is Fred. But Bruno does press as well. I'd say he's a top 5 presser at Man United. I would say Fred and Lingard are the 2 best pressers at Man United. But Bruno's also top 5 at pressing at Man United.
Okay, all right.
I think it's quite exciting to see how you guys are thinking those pairings could happen. I just wonder if Ole is going to have the balls to actually get one of those center defensive midfielders out, right? You don't need 2 right now. If you've got a Pogba, a Bruno, a Greenwood, a Ronaldo around that center defensive midfielder, I think it would be hampering their progression going forward if they were to have 2 of them. Yes, I've seen it happen with Chelsea, but Chelsea didn't have a out-and-out number 9, or we were kind of always looking for the counter, and that we could soak up a lot of pressure with those 2 center defensive midfielders. I don't know if it should be the approach that he takes, and I think a lot of criticism is going to come his way. If he still has players like McFred running that part of the department when there are players like Cristiano, Bruno, Pogba that potentially have to sit bench to watch those start and play, which would be scary.
Yeah, but the thing is, if you are going to play with your strongest players in an offensive unit, so, I mean, what is your dream front 3? Let me ask you that question first.
Hey, man, I think it's so tricky, man.
Just give me 3 names because I'm going to continue.
I'd go
Greenwood, right now. Greenwood, Sancho, and Ronaldo as the front 3,
and Fernandes behind them.
Yeah.
So if they're not going to work hard enough to defend, he's going to go with 2 because you can't just sit with 1.
But
no,
the thing is,
okay.
Greenwood,
So the option, my option
Greenwood
would
Sancho,
be then is to bring
and Sancho
Pogba keeper. But I think Pogba is better going forward than he is defensively.
But the thing is,
brilliant.
The way
someone's
going to
eat. Someone's going to eat baby.
But the way to do it.
That's a reality.
Nick, but the way to do it, right, is to have a strong defensive midfielder who can play alone.
But you're not going to have one. You're not going to have one. So your solution
now. They're going to convert Fred into one, don't you know? They're going to convert Fred into one.
Then what you must do then what you must do, right, is play Pogba and Bruno as double 8s, right, in front of the defensive mid, because that allows them to rotate going forward between the 2 of them. Because you need Pogba to be ahead of the defensive mid and not to play as a pivot. Because when Pogba plays as a pivot, you're putting him
I
too
agree.
far, and you need to just put him a little bit ahead of the defensive mid, and then
I
have
agree
Bruno a little bit
100%
ahead.
with you. I agree
Yeah.
100% with you, but I don't think you've got enough. They don't have enough defensive attributes
Quality.
to do that.
Yeah.
I
They
don't.
don't-
Maybe not even the willingness. Maybe even it's the willingness. I don't think they are willing enough to do the dirty work, because they're going to give you all the dirty work going forward. But I don't see them. Sosa saying to Fernandes, "Listen, you're going to double up as an 8." But that means every second time we go forward, you have to be helping Fred or whoever it is at the back there. I don't know. It's
But
gonna.
there has to be sacrifices for the balance of the team, because
Play Varane there, bro. Play Varane as a 6.
Pogba's been the best player.
Bring Lindelof back.
Pogba's been our best player.
Bring Lindelof back and put Varane there.
Lindelof is better, actually. He could actually do a job there.
I don't know. I think that's a better point. Varane could do that.
You've got a
Yeah,
solution.
No,
You've got a solution. Phil
Lindelof
Jones. Give Phil Jones another chance there. He's
there. He's there. Man is ready and willing.
Phil Jones in behind to Ronaldo.
But I agree with what Sam says here. Obviously, I think Pogba being put back into the deeper didn't help us this game. The first two games, at least he was the best player on the park, and obviously he was connected with Bruno. So hey man.
But just knowing, I agree with you, Silo.
The manager is
So the manager. Let's talk about what will happen. Not in an ideal world. In an ideal world, we would have that scenario. But he's going to go with 2. He's going.
So he'll either play. He'll rotate Matic and Fred. He'll play Matic or Fred with Pogba deep, and then Bruno as a 10, and then he'll play Sancho on the left, and then Bruno on the right, and Ronaldo up through the middle. That's what he'll do. And then Martial will come on for whoever is not playing well up there as the bench option.
And Rashford.
Rashford when he's back, because Rashford only started training this week from his injury. So yeah,
just an outlier, guys. Just a sort of outlier solution. Pep did this with who was it? Philip Lahm. He moved fullback into midfield. Do you not think Luke Shaw could do that role and sit there?
I don't know how comfortable he is.
I don't know defensively.
I think he's very.
I think he's good on the ball. I don't think defensively. I think you're gonna have the same issue. I don't think defending is Luke Shaw's strength. Like, I think he's better going forward than he is defending. Personally speaking,
defending is good at. He's good at recoveries because of his pace. He's good at recoveries. But it is an interesting one. I'm trying to think of the defenders that we have. I think Lindelof is the one who could be a defensive mid, just because he can actually hold the ball and pass it. But hey, man, I don't know, guys. It's a tough one. I think even myself, guys, I'm about to pack my bags and go to the UK, guys. I'm gonna quarantine for 10 days. In my some of my footballing days, I have been called a bit of a Vieira, a bit of a Tory. This is because of my passing range, but maybe I can go fill in there.
Sure, Jason called it on the show a few weeks ago, but Ndidi I think would have been a nice addition to that.
Perfect.
Brilliant addition,
perfect.
Then they would have figured out their spine. That spine would be sorted for.
But that's my team. There's nothing else happening on my team. But Claudio,
were you happy to see Varane?
No, definitely. I think he played so well on Sunday. He only made one mistake in the game. Played very well, very assured. People say that he will take time to adjust to the Premier League, but he did very well. He handled the pressure very well, made some last-ditch tackles, last-ditch clearances as well, and was strong in the air against Jimenez. So I think we got a great signing there, a leader as well. So Champions League Varane, man, can't wait.
Hey, Brad, Klompo Kakana has just been sidelined from Sundowns. Maybe you can sign him there. Champions League winner.
Yeah, that's actually a good player. But
Klompo can pass the ball, bro.
He can. Claudia, I wanted to ask, man, your club did the sneaky tactic today, bro, of announcing the club captain's contract extension on deadline day, trying to focus some good news on the fact that your club captain is renewing when there should actually be saying that they're trying to sign someone and the extension should be announced maybe tomorrow, 2 days time. They're trying to divert their attention.
Divert attention, yeah.
Yeah, look, like I said, if Matt was here, he'd have a comment about this. I think the average, I would like to think anyway, the average Liverpool fan is an educated Liverpool fan with their club. So they're aware they're aware of what's happening behind the scenes and how they operate. So, like I said, the focus for Liverpool would be, the contract renewals of key players. I mean, started the window, he was being linked with PSG because there were stalls in his contract renewals. So the fact they've gotten over the line. Look, are they pulling a fast one over us, trying to make us feel better when United have just signed Ronaldo? I don't think so. It could just be like, yeah, our captain's sticking with us, it's a nice sentiment, I think, for the rest of the squad more than it is for the fans. But we under no illusions. We know exactly what's going on at the club, and we're just going to sit tight, support the club, and hope for the best. But gentlemen, from a transfer window perspective and Ronaldo moving to United, in terms of their competitiveness and title challenging credentials, and a quick one, Mosa, do you think they can do it?
They've got a 20 goals per season type of player. Of course they can fight now. They can definitely fight for it.
Nick, do you believe they can do it?
Sorry, my battery's dying, yeah. Yes, I do think they'll be there and thereabouts. I do think that sixth position is going to be a problem for them.
Celo?
But they'll be there.
Yeah, man. Come on. What else, man, guys?
Okay.
We've got Cristiano Ronaldo, guys. I think that in itself is a player that definitely helps us. I think with the goal scoring, I think goals shouldn't be our issue this season. The issue should be, can we control midfields? Can we challenge against the other top teams? There'll be a tough game where we are playing against a Chelsea, a City, a Liverpool, and Spurs or whatever.
Newcastle.
And even in Newcastle, Stevie Bruce taking out the pies. It's a tough game. So we need to be able to match them in the midfield firstly, and then also the little opportunities that you do get. I think our front line can definitely take those opportunities. But the question is, can you shut them out at the back and defend when they got chances?
Right.
But you guys have a lot more confidence, right?
Yeah, no, definitely.
You've got a Varane in that back four. You've got Cristiano up front. It's very 100%. Scary when competitors look at you.
100%. And I think I also like the fact that what Pogba's been saying in the media in terms of, saying that we need to be challenging for the season, doesn't care about records. He only cares about titles. I think the right messages are coming from him, I think he definitely wants to give it his all this season for Man United to win a title. And I think he feels that he's got a shot to win the title with Man United this season because of the players that they have.
Right, gentlemen.
So Claudio, just quickly, the segment was transfer deadline day, but we were speaking about a transfer that went over the line about a week ago. So are we going to actually talk about the deadline day transfers or what? I'd like to speak about what deadline day is for Newcastle fans. So transfer deadline day is a thing, but for Newcastle fans, it's just a Tuesday.
Just an
ordinary Tuesday.
It's just a Tuesday.
On this fine average Tuesday for all the Newcastle fans, before we end the show, who do you think is going to be the player in this transfer window that has the biggest impact? I know we've covered a lot about Ronaldo, but is there another player that's moved so far in the Premier League that is going to be the difference for their side?
Lukaku,
Lukaku definitely.
Yeah,
Lukaku.
I definitely agree with you guys now after watching him.
He's back, he's looking at it.
Chelsea fan. That is a Chelsea fan at its finest, ladies and gentlemen. Look at that. Switches sides, left, right, and center. Doesn't need much convincing. Says one thing, then turns the cheek and says the other thing. Quick to convince.
He's getting a tattoo. Lukaku tattoo.
It's gonna come on. Man, it's just I think what I underestimated was the amount of learnings that he's had over his past couple of seasons, the new clubs that he's had in Italy. and it's starting to show the discipline that he seems to have. Be it clear that it was against an Arsenal team, which was punished 5-0 against this weekend, and it was a job where he had to defend, but the job that he did very well and very, very disciplined. And still think he's not worth that amount of money, but he will create a lot of impact for Chelsea because we never had that number 9, and now we can actually look towards him whenever we look up, right? It gives confidence to all the players around the back and the midfield to know that they can give a ball to a number 9 who they'll probably get the ball back from, which is something we've sorely missed with the likes of Werner and the likes there.
And Musa, are you happy with the Saul deal? Because obviously it's what's this? Fabrizio Romano said, "Here we go." So it's a €5 million loan.
Loan.
Obviously, it'll add to midfield.
Yeah, it'll beefen up our midfield. It'll give us, as Claude was mentioning earlier, to have a coach. I mean, Nick was mentioning earlier about Tuchel and the management at the club at the moment. I think this time, if we want to go and do well in either competition, be it the Euros, Champions League, or the Premier League, we'll have enough legs under us to carry us the whole way.
Even when went sideways.
Gents, Mbappe, it's come out saying Mbappe will join Real for free next season. I don't know what the thoughts are there, but
that's great.
That's
great business. It shows that there was just big energy from both teams saying that they won't buckle to each other's pressures, because obviously one wants to say we're only going to pay 160, the other one says you must pay 200, and so on. I think at the end of the day, Real Madrid will definitely get a steal. Mbappe for free next season. That's crazy, guys. After getting Camavinga for £30 million is actually great business for Madrid. And I think they're in a position, they're looking good definitely for next season.
Do failed transfers of that nature highlight how overpriced these lads are becoming very, very quickly? I think he's one case, and then you see a Harry Kane. I do know these lads have a lot in terms of what they can contribute when they join a team, but the prices are just becoming like they're literally going out of this world, and I think it's starting to show now, because these are still talented people who can do a lot of work, still very young, but I think the prices are just overinflated in my view.
Yeah, thank all the foreign oil money thrown into the game that helped the inflation and obviously build what we are seeing now. Musa looking more like a Man United fan, according to Sam, with that background. All right, gentlemen, final thoughts before we head.
It's just for this lad. It's just for this lad.
So my final thoughts quickly. I see Pums had asked me about Chaudhry from Leicester. We were set to sign him on loan. From what I understand, at 3:00 this afternoon, we were told that we're not going to do any more business. The deal had fallen through. We weren't willing to pay X amount of his wages. I'm not too sure what that was. They wanted a high percentage.
It's a normal Tuesday. That's why.
Yeah, but then when I actually got back in the car, I just quickly checked Twitter, and apparently there's 2 loan deals that may go through this evening.
Is Phil Jones one of them?
No, the other one is a guy from Marseille, Kamara. I don't know if you guys.
Kamara. But apparently Wolves also want him, so that's a difficult one, because he's a defensive midfielder. He's got 1 year left on his contract at Marseille. I think you and Wolves are in the running for him, because Wolves pulled out of Renato Sanchez's deal.
Yeah, bro. Obviously, you'd want to come work under Steve Bruce. So, it's a given he's coming, bro. Take it easy, bro. Give me something.
How exciting. How exciting.
I want to find something. Wait, but continue. I want to find something.
Right. What's the final thoughts from your end before Settle finds something?
Final thoughts. I'm actually scared of sounding any more like a Man United supporter in this show. I know I have Cristiano over here. I think that signing, all in its all, it's a beautiful thing for me personally to watch somebody with his pedigree and his history coming back to the club that started the entire life of for us as fans. I'm also very excited to see players like Varane joining a Man United because that's going to change the picture quite drastically, right? Like before we had Maguire, who kind of always knew he had his position set, and there was nobody actually with more authority and more seniority in that defense. And now seeing a Varane come in there is also going to make his performance have to improve, and it's gonna galvanize the entire squad. I think the business that Man United have done this transfer window is excellent. To let go of James, yes, he's a good talent, but to get a Cristiano and to replace him with the Cristianos, very, very nice. To have Greenwood firing on all cylinders, playing next to a Cristiano is very exciting. The only player that I'd say probably going to be a problem in the change room would be a Martial, in my view, because he's not going to take sitting on the bench lightly. Whereas a Lingard, he'd still be excited to be working with the likes of Cristiano and learning from his pedigree. And
he just wants to go.
It's just vibes. It's vibes. So I think all in all, from my side, I'm actually scared of Man United. I had written them off to probably do worse this season compared to last season. But with the signings and the business they've done. And I think he needs to go out quickly so that you guys can get a good manager. And you might think I'm crazy for that, but the same thing that happened with Chelsea last season. It was big spend, a lot of quality players in the cabinet, but the manager wasn't getting it right. And when that change happened, we literally became Champions League winners, and that's something I'd suggest you guys look at.
Nice.
No, I couldn't agree more. But this is for my boy Nick.
Welcome to the what is that? It's where the Georges live. Where's the Geordie? Someone that lives in the tune.
Santiago Muñez.
So the Geordies live.
What's the Geordie? What's the tune? It's where all the Geordies live.
That movie is legendary. They're saying they want to try and find Gavin Harris and see if they can get him out of retirement to come and play with Santiago.
My last thing is just man, I'm excited for the season ahead, guys. All the guys with fantasy football. Cristiano Ronaldo's £12.5 million. If you want to bring him into your side, do throw in those wild cards. Have Lukaku, have Ronaldo up front. You'll definitely have lots of goals up front there.
Yep, and on that note, get your points, get scored. And if you haven't joined the Goal Lounge League yet, don't forget to do that. Also, if you haven't joined our Discord channel, the link is in the bottom. And also, if you want to buy the t-shirts, there are 3 things to remember. It's not that hard. Don't be silly. Just join us. I mean, it's fun. Celo has a lot of... Also, wait, I was going to say, Celo has good facts. Morsa comes up with false facts. So don't read anything he puts out there. Watch out for that. Watch out for that. And then remember, gentlemen, it is a Tuesday. So if you don't know what to be
cool.
Be cool.